especially after yesterday, I'm thinking that it took the Jewish people to temple destruction to realize that hatred is dangerous, and it took Europe to World War to start globalization to realize that we're all human. But nowadays, it seems that all the countries we represent, and I think the master you talked about public opinion and the discourse, are very much filled with hate speech and hate politics, operating on fear and intolerance, with perhaps only one exception of the gorgeous Canadian Prime Minister. So, what? That's why I said yeah. So I guess my question is both philosophical and practical. Where do you, as citizens of the country, find hope for humanity? If we don't need another world war to remind us that we are human, and what do you think we should do? What we can do?
Vadim, it was a wonderfully easy question to answer. I don't have an idea. In my, I have to agree with you, and I see for several years now a global trend, which doesn't have only to do with hate speech, but for me, Putin, Erdogan, Brexit. I'm not talking about America. Okay?
I can talk about America.
Okay. And Poland, some things which are happening in other countries is the same train, the same trend completely. It's very interesting. It's very scary to live through it, and it's some kind of a crisis of liberal democracy as a concept. The only consolation, which is not very much a consolation because you don't know when all of it is going to explode, the way you phrased it as well. The only consolation is that usually trends historically are a little bit like pendulums. So the way it went in one direction, hopefully at some point, it might start going in the other direction. There was a very hopeful and nice moment in the last French elections because everybody was already on the edge waiting for Madame or Mademoiselle, whatever she is, Le Pen, do it. Get there, but that's my hope at this point is a pendulum because I see in all countries, I'm trying to figure, except United States because it's interesting what's going on there politically, but the main problem is we have some kind of a problem on the liberal part of the political spectrum, everywhere. You can go from Israel, by the way, to Poland, to everything in the middle. It's very hard to see strong leaders. And another very complicated and completely different issue is partially because a lot of the liberal, extreme liberal discourse, especially in Europe, is based on a lot of untrue assumptions. So I don't see at this point much hope, except that the pendulum will take us at least to the middle.
Hope? They're easy. Hope? Why I see hope? In you. And all of you. What? Okay, so that's the next part. But it's not only in you, but it's also in 51% of the country that's against the law. 51, according to polls. I love Polish polls. It sounds good, you know. So what do you do? Okay, number one, blog, Facebook, Twitter. If it works for that genius in the White House, it may work for you. What? So far, but who knows? You know, you may end up with more. Just try not to blow up Russia as he's trying to, or maybe not. Or it's Syria, where he's blowing up this today. So seriously, 15 years ago would have been much tougher because you have to get a group of people together. You have to. Today, everyone has access. And the bizarre thing is, you never know what you write on social media is gonna make it big. And if all of us keep doing it, which I don't, so I apologize, but blog, Twitter, Facebook, whatever else is out there, then we can have a chance. And I was far more pessimistic in February when basically all we heard were bad things. Beginning in March, as I say, like the good guys woke up and started to find their voice. A letter of solidarity from something like 160 NGOs condemning the law and anti-Semitism, Polish NGOs, etc. I'm not going to give a litany of it. So the thing is every little voice empowers the next person to also feel they can have a voice.
And it's getting warmer too. I think that's why we also get more optimistic in Poland. But adding to what you said, and by no means contradicting it, I would not underestimate the value of good old-fashioned education. I think that's one of the core of the problems, because we live in the era of social media, and on the surface it seems like access to information has never been easier, yet the level of ignorance is shocking. Today we just read in the New York Times that 41% of Americans and 66% of millennials, which are people in the age between 18 and 30 something, cannot say what Auschwitz was. They cannot say what Auschwitz was. And as I am Polish and I live in Poland, I think it's my main responsibility is to focus on Poland and to ask whether the Holocaust education in Poland is correct, and for sure more should be done. But in general, I think we have a problem. And it's not only about Holocaust, by the way. And the other thing is how the general debate about the real issues, modern issues, challenges is being shaped, and how the sort of mainstream is adapting itself to the new phenomena of populism. So on the one hand, the sort of old political parties and forces, they fail to address real issues, leaving the vacuum for populists to address them. And by an example could be migration, integration of the Muslim minorities in the Western countries. By the way, the same is in Poland. I mean, the same and not the same, because in Poland we have no Muslim migrants, and somehow they became the enemy number one.
That's not true. We have 4 or 5.
Okay, you're always this optimist. I mean, it's killing me. Yet somehow we managed to make the refugees and Muslims the enemy number one in Poland. And of course, that's very harmful on many levels, and it's also harmful for the Jewish community. At the same time, we should not pretend, especially the Jewish community, that there are not issues and problems linked to it, which we can observe more and more in Germany and France. And the sort of political mainstream fails to address those issues in a responsible way, leaving vacuum for populists who provide simple answers to complicated questions. So I'm not to the extent like Rabbi in the hope business, but I think we are also responsible for shaping this debate.
Excellent, thank you. Magda, please.
Magda, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Magda Dorosz. I represent Hillel Warsaw here in Warsaw.
Introduce Tosha.
Yes, I'm here together with my together with my 2 wonderful ladies, Matylda Jonas Kowalik and Antonina Grünberg. We opened here almost about 2 years ago. Exactly, you were there, and I asked myself the same question, starting in August last year, and then that question was reinstated very much after this new law came out. And hope is one answer, but the other answer is that we as Jews, throughout the history, were pushed again and again and again from different places. And as much as I hope that it's not going to happen for us here, Jews in Poland, but if it happens that we will need to leave Poland, what we do through Hillel is creating positive experience, cheerful experience for young Jews. And my personal hope and what drives me to do what I'm doing is the belief that even if it comes to the worst case scenario that we need to leave Poland, we gave tools for these young people to go and exercise their Jewish life somewhere else in the world. And I believe it's true for all of us. Will we live where we live? Will we go to Israel? Will we go to, I don't know, Argentina? Will we find another island that we'll move to? We will be proud Jews.
Thank you.
In other words, no matter what, even as the chief rabbi of Poland, even if our Jews leave, because if I don't think it's going to happen, but if that means that our work here is then going to enrich another Jewish community, that too is a positive thing.
All right, I think we have time for one or two, maybe at the most, more questions. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Anna. I come from Sydney, and I'm here with Rina, who's also from Sydney. It's very emotional to speak about this. Is it okay if I sit down? Can you? Because I feel we carry a lot of sadness and a lot of anger connected to Holocaust, because for many of us, the stories are personal and affected our families. And education has been mentioned a few times. My question or my comment is, while we educate the next generation, do we plant this sadness and anger in them? And I'm talking now whether we're Jews or whether we're Poles, and continue to contribute to this anti-Semitism on one side and anti-Polonism, anti-whatever on the other side, or do we educate them about Holocaust? It might sound very horrible what I say, but in the same way as we teach them any other history event that happens. Because for our children, and definitely for our grandchildren, whatever happened 150 years ago, for them it will be 100 years ago, will be a long history. So do we continue to really push and say about all the crimes that Poles or other people did against us? Or do we say, this is a tragic time, tragic period in Jewish history, but also there are many other events. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
I understand what you are talking about because working here in Poland, I'm thinking very often about, I don't know whether the non-Israelis are aware, what do the trips of Israeli youngsters with their schools to, I call them disparagingly, 5 camps and 1 shopping mall trips in Poland, what do they achieve? And I think one of the, first of all, on one
shopping markets alive.
First of all, I think that it will be at this point in time still too early to talk about the Holocaust as of something very, very removed from us, because somehow we didn't make a closure of the issue, definitely not in Israel. But then You are absolutely right, in my opinion, because educated young generations of Jews on martyrdom doesn't give good answers to good result as far as I want. I feel it stronger here in Poland, because Poland is a country which is very much educated in itself on the martyrdom. You know, they had a horrible history. The country was divided by their neighbors for many, many years. They were conquered during World War II, and then the Russians imposed on them communism. So everything is right. But the question is, what is the result of martyrdom? And I think it's bad. If you are telling your young generation, we are only martyrs, we are only martyrs, which means that we can do whatever we want, because martyrs have the license to do anything, you know. And you have a point. It's very hard to find. I'm not an educator, so that I don't know where to draw the line, but it should be drawn because I don't think it's healthy for Jews to grow also as martyrs.
Okay, I'd like to take one more question.
No, Matthew,
I
and
want-
I got to answer. I'm 30 seconds.
I want to respond before the rabbi responds. Okay.
You start with the younger ones.
Maybe.
I checked Wikipedia, yes.
Okay, not by much.
Not by much.
Okay. I think the part of the answer to your question is it depends on the goal of the education. Holocaust study is very, very important, not just for Jews, but for the non-Jews particularly. All right. My father, always used to say that the Holocaust is not a reason to be Jewish. If you were trying to keep your children and grandchildren Jewish, if you want them to marry Jews, you want them to keep a Jewish community, it cannot be based simply on the fact that they tried to kill us. Okay? It must be based on the glory, the beauty of Judaism, of Torah, of the values and morals that are articulated in the Torah. You know, we just finished the holiday of Passover, right? It's about from slavery to freedom. And why freedom? Because it allows us to express who we are as a people. And I think that I actually, sort of long story, Chaim wanted me as a representative of AJC, by the way, I'm the chairman of the board of trustees of AJC, to be on the claims conference. For my sins, they made me not only chairman of the audit committee, but I was the one that chaired this commission, this study on Holocaust knowledge in the United States. So I'm I'm very familiar with the details of, and if you go to the claimscon.org, you can see a little video that I'm in talking about the study. But Holocaust education is critical, and it needs to inform not just us, but more particularly the non-Jews about the horrors of the Holocaust. But it's also got to be part of a larger context. But again, my view is that what is the point of the education that you're talking about? Is the education simply to let people know on the Holocaust so it doesn't happen again? Critical, but it's not the totality of what we need to be teaching.
Thank you, Rabbi Bronfman. In one word, ditto. Holocaust education, essential, but without Shabbat dinner, without a fun Hanukkah and an engaging Seder, we're not doing our jobs. And we still fast on Tisha B'Av. Almost 2,000 years later, we remember, we don't forget. But Tisha B'Av is one day a year. We finish Tisha B'Av, we have a mourning period that leads up to it. There was the 9 days, the 3 weeks before. And you want to know something? The day after Tisha B'Av, it's over. We're partying again. That's the answer.
Okay, do I have time for one more question, or yes? Okay, please.
Belarus. Well, we talk about law mostly, but it says session called Law and Disorder. So talking about this law that we spent 1 hour and 30 minutes, I also want to remind that in Lithuania right now, they're also in a part of discussion. So what would you suggest for local Lithuanian community? And again, it would influence, since we share a common border with Belarus, yeah, Lithuania and Poland. What would be with disorder of that? When Rabbi Michael Shudrik mentioned that 50% of population, they were against this law, yeah? And Anna Zari, ambassador, also mentions that influence might go to Russian-speaking country. So what disorder would be? Because talking about social medias and Facebook and other things that we can fight for, I read one interesting comment. Before you go to Poland, consult your lawyer. Yeah, it's a bit stupid, yes, but it happens there. And 64 comments on that. So people start to just expand this stupidity. And again, we will also have to learn from this law for other countries. We have to learn for disorder and any advices, any ideas, which can be put in our educational part, can be put in our interface dialogue and discussion with government. Thank you.
I think that what I found to be very important here is to engage, keep talking, even to the guys who've made outright anti-Semitic statements I don't talk to. Sorry, if you want to apologize, then maybe I'll talk to you. But everybody else, all the people who are silent, which is the real problem, because if we think there's never going to be anti-Semitism, unfortunately, there's a very small chance if we look at history and at social trends. The problem are not the anti-Semites. The problem are the good guys who are quiet. And therefore, it's the question of engaging. And I just go back to what I said at the very beginning. Immediately expressing that you know how they feel. You know about the suffering of the Lithuanian people. And it's creating a bond. And also, for example, what I'm trying to develop an idea is to make some kind of Polish-Jewish group that will fight false stereotypes about Jews and Poles together. Because right now, we have the law here, we have the Jews, we have the Poles, and we're interacting over a problem. If we make the problem here, and we're together interacting with the problem, then you have a much better chance at creating a positive result.
Okay, I'd like to, oh, yes. We're finished. I'd like to thank, first of all, the panelists, all of our panelists for joining us, Limmud FSU, and of course, everybody here.
I want to thank Yaakov. Thank you very much for moderating the panel. And I want to thank the Chief Rabbi. Look, he's very busy, have many problems with Shchita and on our culture and other problems in the city. So we thank you for coming. Not to speak about the ambassador, that she is following us and we are following her. And they will follow us, the Chief Rabbi and the ambassador. On Sunday, they will head the march together with our president, Aaron Frankel, and the mayor, and the leader of the March of the Living in the city of Plonsk. And what we'll do, actually, we are opening the celebration of the Israel Independence Day. We will, as always, we'll be the first one in the market. So hopefully on Monday, we will open the celebration saying about 70 years of the State of Israel. And lastly, I want to acknowledge the present. Wait, Sandra, don't run me, I'm here. I want to mention, it's not just we are following Anna Azari, and Anna Azari following us. Also, we have the secretary of our foundation, Diane Wall. Diane, please stand up. Wait. I want to tell you, Diane Wall, she has a lovely house in Long Island, very lovely, but she preferred to stay with us in 206 in a place called, not Pakrovska, even worse. That, no, I don't know, place you don't want to know, and she, correct. Even the Jewish agency said it's not a place to be because it's not that comfortable. And she stayed with us since 2006, now 12 years. Wherever we go, she goes. And thank you very much. We appreciate. And she is the old-timer. And now we have a new timer, a new coming to us is the ex-president of Hillel International, Tom Bloomberg. Please stand up, Tom. And we are very, very thankful to you. And of course, I want to thank our chairman, Matthew Bronfman, and our representative of AJC. I cannot pronounce your name in Polish.
Agnieszka is a lovely name.
Agnieszka. Agnieszka, I did my job. Thank you very much.